All right. So let's give ourselves over to prayer. Let's close our eyes and ask for Jesus to be with us in this moment, to open our hearts and touch us inside, helping us, dear Lord, to feel your holy presence. Please involve our thoughts and surround us with the infinite rays of your blessings and your love. Please bless this meeting tonight, dear Lord, helping all of us brothers and sisters on the physical plane and all the brothers and sisters on the spiritual plane. Help each one of us to open our hearts, to receive the wisdom and the messages for tonight. Help us to open so deeply that the messages land in a way that helps us to put into practice what we have learned. And most of all, help us to love. May God bless us all. So it is.
So be it. Are we ready? All right. So I'm gonna start to share my screen. Can you all see my screen? And that is the correct one?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great, great. All right. So how is everyone? I hope you are all good. Oops, sorry. Just one minute. Like this. Okay. Yes. All right. So today we are gonna talk about the chapter 22 of the gospel, right? So last week we had Andy that actually talked to us about family in the spiritual world, right? So today we're gonna talk about, family more in the society's way, and also spiritism. How does spiritism define the aspect of family, but we'll focus a little bit more on marriage, right? So that's what we're going to talk about, marriage, right, on earth, right here. So brace yourselves. I have to confess from the beginning that that is not an easy topic for me. I'm not sure that is easy for many of us, and we're going to see there are some reasons why, right? But this also is a chapter that it's very small. And can anybody guess how many pages is it in the Gospel, chapter 22? It's like 4.5 pages on, it's very small. But as usual, Kardec starts, right, with something from the gospel, and then he brings his explanation. In most of the chapters, there is a message from the spirits too. That's not the case of this one. There's no message from the spirits. So it's a very short, chapter. But, it has a message that is really important for us, then that we will bring a lot of reflection. So hopefully, you guys can still be upbeat, you can still be hopeful and everything as you reflect, because I have reflected a lot during this. So we are gonna break it down a little bit. So this message is from Matthew 9, chapter 19. So the verses are 3 to 9. So here it starts like that some Pharisees came to him to test him, right? So they asked Jesus, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any and every reason? Then Jesus replied, haven't you read that at the beginning the Creator made them male and female, and said, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother and will be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate. Why then, they asked, did Moses command that a man give his wife a certificate of divorce and send her away? And then Jesus replied, Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because your hearts are hard, but it was not this way from the beginning. I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife except for adultery and marries another woman commits adultery, right? So again, Jesus was talking about this a long time ago to a different society than we have today, right? So I really had to study, to look at this because we really have to try to understand, right, to take into consideration the history, the culture, the message of Jesus, what it was meant by all of that. And some of the things are important for us to understand. Actually, I learned this by listening to other people talking on the topic, and I thought it was interesting. So this first phrase there that says that some Pharisees came to test him, that is important, right? Because at this point, it's like Jesus is there as a scholar of the law, right? So this is a very academic discussion about the law, right, of God at that point, the Moses law and everything. So at this point too, it's important to see here that they were not asking Jesus if divorce was possible, but they were asking in which situation was divorce allowed, right? Because you see that they ask for any and every reason. And I also learned that is because at the time, the scholars of the law, they had two lines of thoughts of philosophies that they had. One, it was very strict, and it said that you could only divorce if it was for adultery. And there was another group of people, right, that interpret the law in a way that said that for any reason whatsoever, you could divorce. So they were basically asking Jesus, so what do you think? You are more into theory A or theory B or line of thought A or B. And then Jesus actually uses references from Genesis, right, from the Bible, those here that you have in A and B, actually to reply, right? So he uses, what it's already known by them to actually reply. So let's continue and trying to make a little bit of break down this message even more. So, what is the difference then between God's law and man's law? And that is one thing that we need to do from the beginning. So, the law of God, it's unchangeable, right? Immutable. But everything that is work of man is subject to change, right? As we evolve morally and intellectually, we change, right? And thank God that also the civil laws have changed also, right? So the laws of nature, right? That is one of the laws of, God. It's one of the divine laws. They change all the time, right? In all countries. But the human laws will change according to the time, to the place, and to the progress of intelligence, right? So that is what we need to make the differentiation so we can see a little bit more of what is Jesus actually, talking about. So in marriage, what is the divine order, right? What is the most divine thing that happens there? It's really that you have two sex there, or you have male and female coming, and in this relationship, and in most of them, you have the rise, right, of new beings, either naturally or sometimes you can adopt, but you helping, right, through this relationship. You actually through this union, right, you actually uh, trying to regulate the society, right? Because family is important, right, for society and for our betterment too. So, but the marriage in terms of a civil law, it's such a human thing that even if you look at different times, this law has changed, right? Some things were accepted or others were not. And even if you look in two places, right, they are not identical. Right? So sometimes you look at two countries and the law of marriage can be different, the civil law, right? Because it aims to regulate the interests of family. And these interests, they will vary according to local customs and needs, right? But beyond that divine law of reproduction, of creating beings and everything, the law of love should be the one where the foundation of that relationship, of that marriage should be, right? And that law is immutable, right? The law of love. So uh, through that, we have to think about this relationship that is a bond, that is it's an experience that should be beyond the bonds of flesh, right? It's two souls coming together, right? And growing together, right? Then they are raising a family, so they are helping themselves, they are taking care of themselves in that relationship, and they also helping themselves progress. So uh, so we if the law of love is taken into account, and that's what create the problem, right? So uh, when in such a relationship, what's being considered is not the satisfaction of the heart, right, of the soul of the individual, but is of pride, vanity, cupidity, in a word, all the material interests. Then is when we need an option. And the option, or the breaking of that bond of marriage, would be with the divorce, right? So if the civil law is what regulates the civil relationships, the divorce is a human law, right? But it's not contrary to the law of God, right? Because once the relationship, it's not there anymore, right? um Once there's no respect anymore or anything, then you know uh it's not contrary to the law of God, because God said whatever, it's bonding love should stay, right? But if that relationship is not there anymore, then it is an option, right? So the whole thing is too, because it's, we can go sometimes in life, in situations that are important. Sometimes we can go to the extremes. Either we say, oh my gosh, it's to death does you apart, it doesn't matter what if. Or we sometimes we make it too superficial. Oh no, yeah, we can divorce, so let's just practice, and since we can divorce, why do we worry before getting to a oops before getting into a relationship? um, you know so that is what we need to take into consideration. It should not be that just because we divorce is allowed, that we just go into the relationship without the commitment, right, without knowing and understanding what that relationship can do, and what is it, the role, right? So when Jesus said, you shall be one flesh, do not separate what God has united, or what the world, may the word not separate what God has united, then these words should be understood and with the reference of the union according to immutable law of God, and not according to the changing laws of men. So Jesus, you know, also consider, he didn't say that the marriage was absolutely insoluble, right? He even said, right, that it was because of the hardness of your hearts that Moses allowed you to dismiss your women, right? So Jesus was saying, it's because it's lacking the love there. If you really love, then that should be bond, and you should be able to cultivate and to maintain that relationship. But if it's not there, if you have hardness in your heart, then that is um allowed, right? And it was already allowed in Moses' time, right? Because in that case, in some cases at that time, like today, right, the mutual affection, it was not really what it was determining for those two people to be together, right? It was, so then the separation um, would become necessary, right? You would have to have, um, a way out, right? If it's not helping. And we'll talk, in this following part about the divorce in the Spiritist view. But one thing is that we have to think is that we are here to be a better version of ourselves, right? And actually, if you are isolated, it's so much easier to be nice, to be kind. Nobody's contesting that. Nobody is nudging you. Nobody is actually challenging you to do anything. Everything is the way you want. Nobody's telling you what you don't want. Maybe they're not telling you what you like to hear either, but they are not telling you bad things, right? So, by being close relationship with other people, right, is how we grow. And that's what the Christian needs to do, right? The Christian person needs to be in the world, right, with other people. That's how we get tested, and that's how we evolved. But the uh, fundamental aim of the relationship is not for us to just withstand each other, right? I think there is a story that this lady came to Chico Xavier, right? And she said, well, I've been married for this many X number of years. And, I know that we're not fighting anymore, so I think you know, I can be okay with my husband. So thank you, right? So the next life, I'm not going to come with him again. And it seems like she could told her, well, then the next time you're going to come together so you can learn how to love each other, right? So there is a difference in just being able to survive in the same environment as somebody else than really loving them, right? It goes a little bit deeper. So it might take many, many, reincarnations, right? Um, so one of the things that another thing that we need to remind ourselves is that most of us have a planned reincarnation. So maybe we made an agreement, we have an agreement with this person, right, that is our spouse, that we would build this life with them, right? And if you remember, the we are not in our family just randomly. That's not how the families are chosen, right? You are, even though, and you think this is what I'm gonna say right now is the craziest thing, and you know is not possible that it's like that, but we are in the families that we need the most, right? We probably chose people from that family, or if not exactly, didn't chose my exact mama, I chose somebody just like her, right? So we are in this environment, in this familial structure, and because that is the best one for us, right? It's the best one to make us grow, right? So how long does it take for that coincidence again, right, of us in that nucleus, or for you to meeting this specific spouse, right? So being in a family, being in a relationship is an opportunity to learn from each other, right? And that way we can, erase the debts that we have from the past, but we can also strengthen our commitments, right? And our relationships. Um, so one thing as we think about, marriage, divorce, is this idea, because some people say, right, that there is the other half, right, that we're supposed to find, um or a soulmate. Like in Portuguese we even say, uh my twin soul, so it kind of gives a better idea that it's two individuals, but in English we say the other half, meaning that there is another spirit out there that is half of my soul. So if we look in the spirit's book, there's nothing like that. I'm not on a like half of something that then was born in Recife and then grew, and then comes Lucio, that is the other half of my soul, and then once we married, this soul came together, right? So each soul, right, is one individual, right? And when they ask the spirits, right, when Kardec asked, are they souls destined to be together from inception, or do they each have other half somewhere in the universe with whom will be reunited one day? So the answer was no, there is no destined union between two souls. The union exists, but varying degrees according to the ranking, to the degree of perfection, right? To actually, the affinity that we have with other people. And here's the part where it says, the term half. So is this, used by referring to sympathetic spirits? And then it's saying that the expression half is inaccurate, right? One spirit, it would be the half of another, then it will be incomplete, right? When separated in the other half. So we are all uh, our own soul, our a whole, right? So it's not like there is a half out there that we need to find so that we can be complete. And that I think is really important in the relationship, because to be able to grow with this other person, I have to do my work, right? I have to be whole. I have to feel like I am one soul, and not that there's somebody out there that is actually magically is going to complement me, and all my vices are going to be neutralized by theirs, and all my virtues are going to be potentialized by theirs. That's not really how it works, right? So and as we also think about that it's my responsibility individually, it's nice for us to think back. I'm married for a long time. Maybe some of you are not married for that long, but let's look back in the day. And then we have these stages, right? So the first one here, you know, it's all nice and dandy, right? You are dating, and everything seems to be so nice and sweet, right? Then it goes into engagement, and then it gets into marriage. So if we can think about how in general we behave going from one stage to the other, how do we behave? Do we behave the same way when we are married that when we were engaged? Should we not? What should be the difference there, right? Anybody wants to comment or anything, or should we just keep going?
I just think that it's not only about marriage. It's also the way that we treat our immediate family.
Mhm.
People that you interact the most is usually the people with whom you put out your frustrations.
Yeah,
You
that
see?
intimacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes that intimacy, and we take for granted that that person also has a soul, right? That also has feelings, and just because they're closer, it's not fair with them to just be the one that is there, the closest one, and that we can put our frustrations out there. But usually, during the dating, there's so much effort, right? Usually, we put a lot of effort there. We have special dates, we dress a different way, we have all these expectations, maybe we call every day, right? But then as it's going and we're getting closer, sometimes it's exactly what you're talking about. Then we take the other person for granted, right? Then we start to get into our own frustrations. And instead of that person being a partner, now it's like, just a punching bag, or something that you just go and we forget to continue that relationship, right? So I think, I was trying to reflect, and if we think about this success, if you see couples, they still are together and they seem to be those twin souls, or that have, you know, it's because they maintain that, right? They are still laughing together. They still separate time for themselves, right? Even though they have children, so they love their children, but there is still the space for the marriage there. um, there is admiration, right? We need to be very careful with that. To love someone, you need to admire them. Once it starts to be that every day you're just finding bad things in that person, right? If the admiration goes away, then how is the love gonna still stay there, right? I had one friend just recently that came, and because of COVID, then she stayed in the car with the husband, like in my driveway. I was at the door, but she was talking and telling a story, and I can see in her husband's eyes, he probably heard that story like 10,000 times. It was new for me, but he lives with her. So he probably learned, but heard it before. But his eyes, you could see the admiration that he has for her, right? And he didn't interrupt. He didn't get annoyed by it. It was almost like he was hearing that for the first time again, right? So then you can see that if you can keep that, then you really, can keep going. I'm not saying it's easy, right?
No, no.
No.
I actually, the grandparents of my husband, they have been together for 65 years.
Wow.
Grandpa is 94 right now. And to me, they are such an amazing example of what you just said. Just the way they are getting older and older. In the way that they treat each other, they have so much respect, and more than that, they
Mhm.
they make fun of each other. So
Mhm.
how sometimes it gets old, and then you start complaining about things. But I think it's so beautiful to observe them, because just because of that, when one is a little bit more in a bad mood, the other one is making jokes and trying to make fun of the situation. So instead of engaging in that bad mood, they are
Mhm.
always supporting each other. And to me, it's just like they are an example I want to follow. I want to be them once I
Mhm.
grow up.
Mhm. Yeah, and like in this talk that I listened, the guy was saying that, in the beginning it's so different from the dating and the engagement, that it seems like the marriage is the making off of the film, so that is like in the front you have everybody with makeup, they have all these nice scenes, but then the marriage, instead of being another chapter on that story, but it's almost like the making off. You're just seeing, how now everybody, it's just too much comfortable, right? They are not trying that hard. There's no makeup, there's no special things or anything, So um, that also the change, I think, in the stages. And I think it's probably not very popular anymore to do marriage counseling or to talk or do anything like that. But what sometimes happens is that in the beginning, sometimes what we love is not the other person. We start to get attached to, what I love. It's maybe just how I feel when I am, when that person does something that I like, right? Or how that person is in a good day, but I don't like in the bad day. So, or it's just the external. We all gonna, age, right? We're gonna change, right? And we change outside and inside too, because we are maturing, right? I cannot be the same as I when I got married, right? Because I had had experiences. And only the people who are really stubborn or they're not intelligent are the ones who don't change, right? We should be able to be changing and be changing for the good. We have the right and we should be changing our opinions as we learn more and as we reflect. So sometimes if we are getting attached to things that are more superficial, or if we are romanticizing the idea of that other person, then that's when we can get frustrated, right? That is the recipe for getting more frustrated and for being unsuccessful, right? So um, we need to actually remember that person that we had that we loved in the beginning. And it's even one of the I'm not a specialist in this area, but it's even one of the tools for couples counseling is to ask people to remember what did make you love, what did you admire, what did you like in that person from the beginning, right? So if we really can keep that admiration, then we have more room for success in those relationships. And again, I'm not saying that it is easy. If it was easy, we all would be doing that, right? But we have to remember that our difficulties, they will always come from our imperfections, right? So the most annoying thing that I can see in others, there's something in me that needs to be kind of, looked after or looked at, right? So marriage is really an experience that we can learn how to develop virtues, right? Because you're going to have many, many opportunities, right? And the more comfortable we are with each other, then we'll challenge those virtues of patience, right? Of so many other things, right? How many sacrifices or compromises do you do, right? In marriage, it's time, it's financially. Although I always joke with my husband that the husband's money is the husband and the wife's, and the wife's money is only the wife's. No, we share everything, but some people like to say that joke. But yeah, we have to compromise. We compromise time, financial, emotionally, right? Sometimes if you didn't have a good day and you're coming and this other person didn't have a good day, well, somebody's gonna have to compromise both, hopefully. But you cannot just be in your own, right, problems, and not actually, say, okay, I'm not feeling so well, let's talk, but let me also look at this other person. Again, if we were in a hut living out all by ourselves, there will be no discussing, right? It's first me, second me, third me, fourth. But when we live among other people, then we need to actually, we have to compromise a little bit, right? And that's again the third bullet there, that if we were not in this relationship, if we were not in this family, maybe we would not have a chance to exercise this virtue, because we wouldn't be challenging, right? So it's sharing a life, and with all rich experiences of that life bring with another person, right? So we need to think that that will bring opportunities for development as an individual, right? As a couple, as parents, if you have kids, right? And there is the influence of the other family too, because we have to also interact with the other person's family, right? And remember, it's two people coming from two cells, different cells with different habits, behaviors, belief systems and all of these, and then now are coming together to try to make a unit out of that, right? So to just give us an idea that this is not easy. So according to Spiritism, in this book, Studying Mediumship, there are 5 types of marriage. So there is accidental, probatory, sacrificial, by affinity, transcendental. From the words, the adjectives that we are using to define this, you can see that some of them, will bring more challenges than others, right? So here they are, accidental. So it's just and one reminder, I'm not going to ask everybody, I'm not going to quiz everyone on what kind of marriage it's yours, because I know what the most common is anyway. So if I had to bet, I can use the odds of just one being more common, but also because I have already, reflected, and I already tried to answer this question myself. But I think it really is important for us to know the Spiritist view, because if it's feeling like it is difficult, it's because most of them are. If it feels really good, then that is rare. You need to keep working on it, right? So this hopefully is to bring us more knowledge and more consolation and more tools, right, for us to actually take more out of this experience and this opportunity that the marriage brings us. So the accidental, it's encounter of inferior souls due to momentary attraction without any spiritual ascendant. So there's not really a previous relationship. It's just really accidental. The second one, that is the most common one, is a probationary. So you are in this reunion for readjustments. They are necessary for the evolution of both spouses, there for both partners. So if you think a little bit about that, then you can see where's the complexity of this relationship is coming from, right? If you are united for readjustment, I mean, that is a challenge, but thank God for that opportunity. If we can be successful there, if we can make strides on that, then maybe the next time we're gonna have another type of marriage, right? The sacrificial, it's when one more evolved soul actually comes in this marriage with this more inferior soul in order to help them, to redeem them, right? So in the book Nocelar, we can see how under Lewis, moms said that she's going to incarnate again. She's going to reincarnate, and she's going to actually take her ex-husband that was not very nice to her again, right, in the marriage. So she's not even at Nocelar. She's so evolved that she's in another colony that is in higher in terms of evolution, but she's gonna actually help her ex-husband that is not even in Nocelar, right? He's in another more inferior place. But then there are also by affinity, right? So reunion of friendly hearts for the consolidation of affections, and we also have this transcendental, where you have these souls that are magnified in God and who seek immortal achievement, right? So two souls, they are there together to help each other to actually accomplish something bigger, right? Something better. Um, sorry. If we uh, if we think about marriage, right? So we can see that sometimes the problems, the struggles are just the tip of the iceberg, right? And we should not, in our personal journey on earth, we should not be comparing our journey with anybody else's. It wouldn't be healthy to compare our relationship with anybody else, because we're different. A pair is a different pair together than in the other one, right? So if we see that there are struggles and difficulties, there are, right? And good for the people who are working through them, and they're being able to keep going and to go through. But that's something that we need. Also, when we see somebody, right, we always think that that the grass is greener, right, over the other side, right, in our neighbor's yards than ours. But because we're just looking at a very general, right, idea. If we're gonna go with the magnified glass, maybe we're gonna see that they have also problems, like everybody has, right? So really, to win in this situation is really winning ourselves, right? Our own transformation, overcoming our own selfishness, our egoism, right? And working, right, as an individual, not only in myself, but also in this family that I am, organized, that I am responsible for. So I think we have just a few more slides and we're going towards the end, but remember these individualities. So remember again, it's not like you were half of a soul that now is together with another one. We're two individual souls coming together with different past, right? And not just past like our infancy, adolescence, not just like that, but previous experience too, that we're coming together now. And so we have to respect the individuality of the other person. We have to also, right, admire and value, what this other person brings to the relationship too. And remember that no one is perfect, not even us, right? Not even you. I am not perfect. You are not. Nobody is. So, let's just not, put um, all the weight or of the failure or something in somebody else, right? So remember that no one is obligated to fulfill our existential emptiness, our lack of love, our self-esteem, right? So sometimes the trouble, the challenges, they become even harder because that's what we're trying to do, right? Remember, our Savior is Jesus Christ, right? It's not somebody. So you're not marrying or in a relationship with somebody else so they can complete you and save you, right? You are there to grow together, right? Because you love that person. But if you have problems, like most of us have, with lack of self-love or low self-esteem, that's not gonna be solved just by having somebody, next to you, right? So we have to learn how to be happy alone first. So we have to learn how to love ourselves, right? So we unite for a mutual goal, right? It can be that I'm marrying this other person so they can fulfill all my lacks, all my necessities, right? I'm marrying this person so I can have a partner in this journey, right? And if it doesn't work, right? If there is no respect, if there is violence in there, if if there's no admiration anymore, if things are becoming so difficult, then it is better to separate, right? Is to not generate future damage, right? So if you are with this other person, but you tried, but there's no way you're moving forward. On the other hand, you actually remember that the marriage that usually is for you to the most common that is actually for you to restore a relationship with someone. If on the other hand, it's making it so much more difficult, you actually are making more damage to that relationship than are you actually being able to restore. Then in that situation, then it might be better to divorce, and the person to decide that, it's ourselves, right? We can talk to other people, we can discuss, but the only person who knows what you accept, what you don't accept, what you want, what are your goals, um, what you really want is you. So, it's really, is a personal choice. But since from the beginning, right, that we were talking in this talk, when Jesus, was asked, you remember, he was not even asked if it was possible, the divorce, but it's at which uh, circumstances, and his answers was really based on, the Old Testament and everything, saying that if we have the law of love, that is a divine law, as the center of this relationship, then it should not be dissolved, right? But if that is not there, then, there is a possibility, right? But it shouldn't be that at any small problem, we should give up. But of course, there are situations when it's much better, for the couple, for the kids, for society, for everybody to actually, start different ways. But even when you go different ways, remember, you're still an individual. And if you start a new relationship, if you do not fix in yourself all those things that might have contributed to that attraction, right, to that relationship not being able to go forward, then you probably are going to have that problem again. So again, it's looking at myself as an individual in that group, in that couple, right, in that relationship. And this is, guys, basically what I had for today. Anybody has any questions, any comments, any suggestions? And I hope everybody's still there.
Anna, this is great. And this part is really beautiful because it's very common nowadays. We see people that they project their happiness, and this part that you say that we need to learn how to be happy by ourselves first, being alone, so then we can make this work with someone else. It's more and more common to find people that they project their happiness to someone else, and that's why sometimes it doesn't work. And I saw someone saying, it was like a saying in Portuguese a couple days ago, and that resigned a lot with me. That they were also saying that nowadays is more and more common. People, they don't fix what is broken. It's easier to throw it in the trash and to go buy a new one. And this is also valid for relationship. Especially because more and more it's getting easy for people to get to know new people. Sometimes it's just downloading an app in your phone. You don't need to really go out to meet new people. So instead of trying to repair, it's easier to just break up and then think, I'm gonna find someone else. So but thank you, this was a great talk. It was very nice to hear.
Thank you.
And these lights were beautiful as well.
Any other comments? All right, so you all are invited to read the chapter yourself and see what you can get from that and your reflections. But it was a pleasure. I really, this is not an easy topic to talk about, So and it brings a lot of reflection. But remember, if you don't have self-love when you do those reflections, then you're not going to move forward. You're just going to be stuck. So that is also not easy to learn, but that's what we need to do. All these reflections about ourselves, our relationships, right? It needs to be coupled or covered in a lot of self-love so that we can be encouraged to move forward. All right, so I think our next step is our virtual passes, right?
So I will be conducting the passes, but I'm just giving some moments if you all want to grab some water for the passes, just to prepare yourself. So let us now take a moment for a meditation to calm down and go inside ourselves, receiving the blessing of the passes. Place a jar of water close to you for you and your family. This water will be magnetized and blessed by the good spirits. We begin the pass by breathing slowly and deeply, relaxing body and mind, letting go of our worries and thoughts just for this moment. We raise our thoughts to Jesus by tuning in with the good spiritual friends. Let's put ourselves in prayer. Ask God, our Father, for the presence of the guardian angel and friendly spirits by our side in this moment. We ask them to assist all the homes here represented. We ask God to allow us to receive healing rays for all physical body ailments, stopping any action of infirmities through the application of vibration of rays of light throughout our being. We now proceed to the dispersion pass. Let's imagine a crystal clear water falling over us, full of blessings, involving our whole body, removing all negative energy, thoughts, and feelings, penetrating and involving our entire body, organs, cells, and our centers of force, restoring our energies, detaching ourselves from all hurt and anger, nervous tensions, guilt, sadness, and frustration, afflictions, and anxiety. Allow the action of this cleansing by putting all your difficulties and sensations in the hands of the emissaries of Christ. We feel ourselves spiritually clean. Involve in this moment the entire environment of your home, opening the doors to the cleanliness and releasing all feelings of selfishness and possession. May this water clean the spiritual environment of your home from all forms of ill thoughts and feelings that may disharmonize ourselves and our family members. Dear God, embrace our hearts, giving everyone good intuition and freeing us all from evil. Thank God. We now proceed to the dispersion pass. After cleaning, feeling light and happy, we start the strengthening phase, restoring our energies. Let the light of love fall upon us by rays of restoration of our whole being, helping us re-energize both morally and spiritually. Visualize the team of spiritual doctors around your physical and spiritual body, receiving lights that provide beneficial and strengthening energies. Through breathing through the pores of your body and through your mental thoughts, strengthening your immune systems, restoring to balance all of your organic activities, bringing encouragement and well-being to your body. Let's thank Jesus and the whole team of good spirits, asking for this light of healing and blessings for all humanity and involving all the sick and distressed for the trials of the earth at this time. Let us unite our thoughts of love to be an instrument of support so that the good spirits can act on everyone who needs it. Pass in the name of Jesus. At this moment, we imagine the hospitals and everyone there receiving this healing support, the homes of the sick, and those who remain silent, still feeding the action of this disease. We know that God acts in us all. May His will be done. May the water that we set in our table now be blessed by the hands of our good spiritual brothers, workers of Christ, bringing all the benefits to our spiritual and physical bodies. Thank you, God. We now proceed to the closing prayer. asking God and our spiritual mentors to really help us reflect on all the learnings that we had tonight, to be able to work inside of ourselves and develop the self-love that we talked about so much. And only after we can truly love ourselves, may we be also able to live in harmony with our partners, being good partners, bringing light to the life of each other, being spirits that can support each other in the progress in life, and having a good family and having a good passage in this incarnation here on earth. May we all go have a good week and spread the light of God. So be it. Thank you all.
Al anochecer en Cafarnaúm, la casa de Pedro tan simple, casita común, repleta de paz, colmada de luz, oyendo palabras eternas del Maestro Jesús. Me imaginaré sentado allí entre Juan, Pedro, Santiago, Andrés y Leví, a orillas del lago de Genezaret, lanzando a las almas por siempre simientes de fe. Y yo me sentía un niño en aquel lugar, quién sabe, Jesús me